Hey everybody, Tamara Tamu here, bringing you another episode of Unleashed Alchemy. Thank you so much for being here on this platform. We talk about how to stand firm in your I am power so that you can go against the grain and become and step in and embrace your soul fulfilled life so that you can embrace the fact that you are an energetic pioneer, okay, being able to call in the unseen into the scene, okay. So that takes you outside of what you're accustomed to. It also can change the dynamic of your relationships and how you communicate, because now that your true essence is being expressed, you walk different, you talk different, you see things different, and that can sometimes cause a shift in your relationships. But on this show, we talk about how to integrate your spirituality so that you can know how to proceed in every single aspect of your life. All right. So let's get in today's episode. The first thing that I want to say is I know that I had a scheduled live for today at 5:55 p.m., but that's not going to work. But I still needed to get this information to you guys and ladies, okay? So that's what's up with that. Also, I've noticed that, and I think it's because of the device that I'm using, my lives that I've done, I noticed that they don't get uploaded. I'll get a notification that the video has uploaded to the channel, but then I go to the channel, the video's not there. So I'm finding, it may be something that I'm doing, but I'm finding that my lives are not getting uploaded, and the video is not getting shown right away. And I don't like that. So that's why I'm doing this pre-recorded video. So let's get into today's episode. So I titled this episode, Are You Still on a Healing Journey? What do I mean by that? Let's get into it. We have a lot to talk about. So you're going to see me look down because I do have notes on this, because we're going to cover a lot of things. So healing is an odyssey of transformation, and it is a celebration of a new identity unfolding from you. Okay? That's my definition of healing. All right. Now understand this, and I always tell you all, if you have been here for some time, then you know I always say this wisdom that I'm bringing you is coming from my own spiritual experiences, is coming from my own life experiences, currently, past, okay, the whole gamut. So for those of you that are new, just understand this is coming from my experiences. All right. So that's why I say my definition of healing is it's an odyssey of transformation and a celebration of a new identity unfolding. All right. The reason why that definition came to me is because when we talk about healing, when we see healing, it's often talked about through a lens of being a chore, something to constantly do over and over and over and over again. It's kind of like dropping the same cup on the floor and it's shattering, and doing that, putting the pieces back together again, gluing the pieces together again, and then the next day it drops again, pieces shatter, you're gluing the pieces back together again, like it's constantly broken and you're constantly fixing it. We are not broken. You're not broken. I'm not broken. All right. So this whole phrase of healing journey, that I don't subscribe to that, because healing journey, to me, it implies that we're like that glass that constantly gets dropped on the floor, that constantly needs to have its pieces glued back together again. Also, that healing journey phrase, it implies that you have to constantly be in the mode of fixing yourself. All right. Self-improvement is different from constantly fixing yourself. All right. So, going back to what I just said, I'm going to repeat this. Healing is often talked about through the lens of it being a chore, not a celebration. It's talked about as something that you have to constantly continue to do, and you don't advance from that. There's no integration. There's no celebration of, okay, wait a minute. This is a new identity coming up for me. I would have responded to a situation like this, but I noticed I responded like this. The way that healing is talked about, there's no talk of celebrating the improvement, the upgrade, the elevation in consciousness. And so that's what this episode is about. In healing, we have to infuse the celebration and the transformational part of it. All right? Because again, I'm not broken, neither are you. We are not broken. So, I want us to ask this question, okay, what are we healing? What needs to be healed? I like to say, what needs to be alchemized? So, we all have aspects of ourselves that are a result from different experiences. They arise in different ways. So I'm just going to give you, these are two, we'll say categories, all right? So we have traits that we have that are in our DNA. We have traits that are DNA that could determine how we are in the world, that could determine how we act in the world. So, for example, some of us are shy. Some of us are assertive. Some of us are more on the reserve side. Some may label that as being quiet. You have some people that function in the world where everyone is a stranger. You have some people that function in the world where no one is a stranger. You have people that have traits that make them the life of anything, of any environment, life of the party. And then you have, some people that have traits where they don't prefer crowds at all. That's a trait. You have people who automatically lead. People automatically, just soon as a person walks in a room, they become center of attention. When they speak, people stop and listen. They're charismatic. And then you have people who have traits where they prefer to be behind the scenes in a more supportive role in whatever environment, okay? Then you have those traits and aspects. We have those traits and aspects that surface from our experiences, beginning in childhood. So we have some people who have a trait of being more private. That could come from an experience that caused them to be non-trusting of everybody. So they're private. Perhaps that person is hard to get to know. You don't really know that person. They hold back. Even with their own friends, they hold back because they are non-trusting because of an experience. All right? Perhaps you have a person that because of their experiences, they find themselves to be very observant in any environment. They could be at the grocery store and they're watching everything. That person may not be a person that talks a lot. They may appear to be standoffish, yet perhaps that being more observant rather than talking, that could be a protective measure because perhaps growing up they were in environments where they didn't feel safe. So to be more observant, to be on the quiet side, to not really talk at all, that could be a protective measure. That is an aspect or trait that was developed from experience. You could have a trait that came from an experience of being impulsive, being obsessive, fear of losing things, being a hoarder, trauma from losing things, trauma from losing perhaps parents, trauma from not having or being left alone and not having, perhaps having to scrape up and fend for themselves growing up, feeling afraid, feeling weak. These are examples, okay, that I'm using here. So, when we have aspects of ourselves that are being pushed down and smothered because we're embarrassed or don't want to present that certain aspects are present, it doesn't matter whether it's from DNA or from the experience, okay? If it is a trait that has not been alchemized, it keeps us operating at a limited capacity. So, what do I mean by alchemizing a trait? We alchemize those traits through recognition, acceptance, and loving that aspect of us. Yes, loving the impulsive trait that is a part of us, that is a reflection of us. Not loving that reflection, it causes us to exist in untruths, okay? So we force ourselves to accept a fake image of our own selves. We force ourselves to ignore our true feelings, and we toss them aside without observation, which leads to us acting out those aspects without even knowing that that's what we're doing. And instead of us making an observation for ourselves, we justify our actions, our display of that aspect by saying, oh, well, that's just how I am. Or justifying, like I said, justifying our actions. All right. And I'm going to give you an example of this. So when you accept your entire reflection, not just the pieces that you find favorable, you can identify a shadow aspect without self-deprecation. Okay, you can ask yourself, okay, where is this trait coming from? Is there a wound that I have that perhaps may still be open? Am I still carrying some trauma remnants? How can I, now this question is very important, and we don't hear this when we talk about healing. How can I care for myself to elevate that aspect or that trait? I'm going to say it again. How can I care for myself to elevate that aspect or that trait? Nothing in any of those questions, especially this last one, nothing about that says, how can I continue to fix myself? This is a different type of energy. There's nothing about a healing journey in that. What you're doing is you're making an observation, and you are asking, how can I care for myself to elevate that aspect or that trait? So let's get into some examples. So let's say there's a trait, okay, that has come up in your life, and the trait is it's impulsive, it's rash, sometimes, though, that trait can come from fear of getting hurt. So you feel like you have to react first to beat someone to the punch. All right. So let me give you an example in this. Let's say that, somehow you find yourself in some type of debate with someone. Doesn't matter what the debate is. And let's say that you have recognized that you have that impulsive aspect, right? And so you notice during the argument, you may have all types of perhaps hateful thoughts that are coming to your mind about that person. But because you have recognized that impulsive trait to just blurt out, perhaps you have recognized that rash trait to just blurt out, to just get at the other person first, you choose otherwise. Instead of you going into self-deprecation mode, oh my God, how can you possibly think that thought? You're terrible for having that thought about the other person. Shame on you, and blah, 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 and all this. All the thoughts that cram into our mind, right? When we feel that we've done something wrong or we've thought a wrong thought, right? So you can observe those rash, impulsive thoughts, and you can just ask, okay, why did this show up in my consciousness just now? Okay, why? Where is that coming from? When you ask the questions why, that is what provides the space for the alchemy. That is what provides the space for transformation. Okay, so perhaps you've asked that question and you said, okay, yes, I see where this is coming from. Those rash thoughts, those impulsive thoughts to react in a certain way that I know would be hurtful to myself and to the other person. And now you've identified, you said, yeah, I developed this trait because I was hurt and I told myself that I would never allow anyone else to hurt me first. That's where this is coming from. And you're doing all of that. You're not necessarily doing that out loud. But when you have observed those aspects instead of pushing them away, that's what you are allowing yourself to do within, is to observe and to ask the questions, okay, where is this coming from? Rather than just reacting. Because if you didn't know that impulsive trait was there and it was causing you to operate in limited capacity, then you would have responded with those rash thoughts and those rash, impulsive, hurtful comments. Perhaps you've done that in the past. But that's when we see people reacting in these ways, they either have just justified their actions, or they don't realize that is an aspect that not, and it's kind of a weird dichotomy, because they have ignored that aspect, but yet the aspect is still being expressed in their lives, but they are projecting it onto other people. This is what we're going to get into more of this tomorrow, which is the 25th. No, it's the 26th, Friday, April 26th. We're diving into this even more inside the Magic School, inside our live session at 7 p.m. If you have not enrolled in the Magic School, if you do that today, you'll be in the Magic School just in time to be a part of the live session tomorrow. It is going to be a hot one. It could possibly be triggering, but this is a part of our spirituality. Our spirituality causes us to go within, to have all of the aspects that we carry to be reflected to us, and to love every single one of those reflections, period. Because all of us have all of our aspects that are part of our spiritual science, and they are meant to be used for our good, to live a soul-fulfilled life. They are not meant to be there for us to go into self-deprecation mode, to stay on a healing journey, to constantly be fixing ourselves. No, we are the alchemists. And we can look at that aspect and we can say, yes, I see it there. I observe where it came from. Now I am pouring on love so that I can be transformed to be at my optimal level, to be limitless, to be sovereign, because that's who I came here to be sovereign, and to live my soul-fulfilled life. Period. So get inside the Magic School and be a part of the live session for tomorrow. All right, so let's go back into the episode for today. So now we have that aspect. We alchemize it. Now we can talk about balance and integration. And I just got ahead of myself, but it's fine. So balance and integration, with all of those aspects that we carry, what does that mean? It is being able to look at all the aspects of you, engulfing them, embracing them with love. So you have an aspect where you have the capability of slapping the shit out of someone. That is impulsive because you are annoyed, you are agitated, you're angry. And yet you have an aspect where you have this desire to help people live in total freedom. So since that aspect is a part of you, how can you love one and hate the other? That doesn't match. Balance and integration in spirituality involves accepting all that entire reflection. So I'll give you a personal example. With me, I am fire. All right. I am straightforward. I am very passionate about anything that I talk about, anything that I'm interested in. I am very much, you're not going to walk away from me not knowing where I'm coming from. I am a person that can provide support and comfort and reassurance and inspiration with that fire. However, also with the same fire, I can be destructive, leaving destruction in my path. Do I hate that part of me? Absolutely not. Because I recognize that it is there. That's just one example. I recognize that it is there. And I take that energy and I say, okay, I know where this comes from. There's instances where that comes from. Some of it perhaps is DNA. I think some of it is DNA. But how can I pour love and wisdom on it so that I can put it in my cauldron as my own spiritual medicine and use it as part of my magic? That's balance and integration. Know thyself. All right. So when we love all aspects of us, it keeps us operating in our divinity and in our sovereignty. Now, I'm going to say this. When we say divinity and sovereignty, this is not about ruling over anyone. This is not having control and power over anyone. It's not what that means. It's about balance and integration, knowing who you are, seeing yourself. That's how those spiritual gifts, this is another side note, that's how those spiritual gifts can come in. You start to look at though all of your aspects as part of, when I say spiritual bag, spiritual science, that's what I'm talking about. All of your spiritual gifts have those aspects. When you pour love and wisdom on there, all of those aspects have a influence in your spiritual gifts. All right. They can be used as part of your spiritual gift. Okay. Or gifts, I should say. So Loving all aspects of you keeps you operating in your divinity and your sovereignty. It also keeps you from projecting any shadows that you have onto other people. All right? Also, with this balance and integration, this is what I said earlier, brings you to a place of transformation and celebration. That transformative power and upgrade that happens on the inside of you, it is an unfolding, it is in an expansion, it is a new you, a new way of existing. Okay, it's an identity that responds from a place of self-awareness, not self-deprecation. Okay? So, with celebration, let me give you an example of this. So, perhaps you used to respond maybe in communication. You used to respond in a way that was reactive. And now you communicate patiently, allowing other people to get their point across. And now you listen to understand instead of listening to respond. And you notice that that tendency to do that was coming from being reactive, being impulsive, being rash. Now, that doesn't mean that because you now have stepped into the new way of being, it doesn't mean that that tendency has gone away somewhere. It's you see what I'm saying? It doesn't mean that you won't have the thought to just jump in like you used to. But now it's different. Now you can see the impulse is there. You can see the old way of communicating was there. But now it does not rule you. Now you don't project that. Now you're projecting the transformative you. Now you're projecting the you that is expansive, that is new. All right? So, you change your wording about healing. All right? Change your wording about healing. Get off the healing journey. All right? Because, again, like I said, I'm going to just sum this up. Because that sounds like a chore. And it puts people in a space where they constantly think they have to be constantly fixing something about themselves rather than observing the aspect and asking, how can I care for myself to elevate that aspect or trait? All right? You did not come into the world broken. That healing phrase, it sounds like you're constantly in a struggle, that you somehow have to heal first. And that's another thing that I read and see. People have these questions about, manifesting the things that they want. And then they ask, well, do I have to heal first? Do I have to heal from this and that first? That is programmed. It is programming thought from religion. It is programmed thought from education. It's programmed thought from jobs. Okay. I can remember, this is not a joke, the last corporate job that I had to go to, the office that I had to go to, they literally had everyone's name on a chart. And it was, based on production, the work that we did. There were literally stars next to each person's name. Depending on your production level for each day, determine the amount of stars that you received. No joke. This is corporate. We ain't talking about fast food. I mean, no shade to people working fast food. But in corporate, I did not expect to see that. So every day you're walking in and you're seeing this, oh, this person has 3 stars. I had none. Oh, this person has 7 stars. I only have 4. So you're constantly on this constant fixing and having to improve yourself. You see what I'm saying? So that's part of programming. But you can get off the healing journey. Now ask, instead of asking, do I need to heal first? Aspects of you that you have pushed away, that you've tried to ignore. I'm going to say, I know I keep saying this question, but it's so important. I want you to ask, how can I care for myself to elevate that aspect or that trait so that it can work for me and not against me? All right. So don't forget, we're going so much deeper on this topic. Okay. Tomorrow in the Magic School, the live session is embracing your role as the energetic pioneer in your lineage. Get inside the Magic School so that you can be a part of that live session. Also, in addition to the live session, you'll have access as a member. It is a monthly membership, so you'll have access to the community. You'll have access to energetic readings. You'll have access to our other live Q&As that we have. You have access to digital downloads. You have access to workshops that are infused with spiritual wisdom to help you function in your spiritual gifts. If you are tiptoeing back and forth between your spiritual gifts, being afraid, wanting to just be out and express them and embrace them, this is the school for you. This is the membership for you, among other things inside of that membership. So I look forward to seeing you tomorrow inside the Magic School for the live session, 7 p.m. Eastern. All right, and until next time, cheers.